I chose to do my speech, my persuasion speech on more, better built bus shelters. The history, a little known fact, a little unknown fact probably by most, in regards to the history of bus shelters. They were first designed in 1824 in Manchester. And typically, the design of the bus shelters was a coach in at the start of the at the start of the bus line, and then there was a coach in for people to wait at the end of the bus line. I'm not sure, there was not much detail as far as the stops. You know, there was just the one stop from here to there. I'm not sure how Manchester is set up either. But in 1964, we fast forward to 1964 to a French businessman named J.C. Dissot. And we've seen the vans all over around Chicago. He redesigned the bus shelter so that people can advertise or pay for advertisement on the bus shelter as they were taking, riders. You would see them all over the city of Chicago. And we've upgraded them since then. In 1999 is when CTA, or Chicago Transit Authority, adopted the design from the business of J.C. Dissot, which still exists today, of course. And the design is very pretty. The advertisements are nice on there sometimes, provided that someone has not vandalized them yet. It has lighting. It tells you what time on some of them when the buses are coming or when the buses is due to come. And sometimes it has more than one bus, sometimes up to 3 buses that are following on that line, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes apart. So you can kind of gauge when your bus is coming. The bus design or the bus shelters were primarily for advertisement, but in the middle of in addition to the advertisement, they also served the purpose to protect people from some inclement weather. And we know in Chicago we have at least 5 or 6 months of what we call inclement weather. I believe that inclement weather can be, depending on who you're speaking with, is subjective. It could be all year round because we have hot summers. The shading of the shelter helps. We have, spring, it's rainy. It helps a bit. And then there's the winter weather. I don't think the shelters really help us with the winter weather as much. It's wide open in the front. Some of them have a small opening in the back. There are 3 areas, or should I say 3 doors or 3 walls, 2 side walls, and then there's a back wall. The front is wide open. So depending on which way the wind is blowing and if it's raining, you could get the rain blown directly on you, and the bus shelter isn't protecting you from that. The same is with the wind itself, as well as the sun. Depending on what direction or where the sun is sitting, in regards to where the bus shelter is, it's not protecting you from the sun either. And it could get pretty hot in Chicago. Not as hot as the other states, but it gets pretty hot. And with the sun beaming down on you, it seems a bit harsh. So our bus shelter design that we currently have does not protect a whole lot. In addition to the design of the bus shelter, we don't have the greater number of bus shelters versus routes. In 1999, originally it was about approximately 1,000 to 1,100 bus shelters to serve 12,000 routes in Chicago. That means it was one shelter every 12 stops. Not on certain routes, on your busier routes, you need more. You have more people who are waiting for the bus on the busier routes, the main streets. You have more people with disabilities, wheelchairs, walkers. You have people who are smoking, even though they're non-smoking. The shelters are meant for non-smoking. You have people out there who do smoke, especially if it's raining or the weather is bad and they need a smoke. They smoke under the shelter. There's also the seating. We have a bench under most of them, provided again vandalism has not hit that spot. There's seating. There's a bench, and it fits about 3 people. However, during COVID, we were supposed to be social distancing. Ordinarily, you can fit maybe anywhere from 5 to 10 people, depending on the size of the person, of course, under the shelter. Now, you can probably fit only 4 people under the shelter if you're practicing social distancing. But who are we kidding? In some areas, people are not practicing, not wearing a mask, not distancing from each other. If an elderly person needs to sit down, another person is going to sit down on that bench as well. That is not enough distance between each person to sit. So the design just in lieu of COVID, it just doesn't work anymore. I think we should upgrade that design to the style of the smoker shelter. The smoker shelter is very big. It's much bigger than the regular bus shelter that we have. It's enclosed on all four sides with openings like doors. And of course, to accommodate people who have wheelchairs, you can always open it up a little bit more. But it is enclosed, therefore protecting you from the rain, protecting you from the wind, protecting you from the sun beating down on you, as well as the snow. Well, to some degree. I mean, snow can still get into those small doors, but not a lot. It also has a waste can receptacle, which many of our current bus shelters, we might have a garbage can in the corner, we might not, but the smoker shelter is actually attached to the railing or the bars of the shelter itself. So when the smoker is done with their cigarettes, of course, there's an easy way to just throw that away, which is great. It has better lighting as well. It has more seating. You can sit about 10 people in the smoker shelter. And of course, because all of the doors because it has 4 walls, you can actually put an extra bench across, and the spacing across from one another, or from the opposite bench, is well enough space, so you're still practicing social distance. I've included a picture of the smoker shelter as well in the paper for everyone to see, because it's very nice. I wish that CTA would adopt this version of a bus shelter for our routes. In conclusion, better built bus shelter would accommodate more riders. Therefore, I wanted to have more shelters of the same kind that were built differently. But if we chose the design of the bus shelter to use the smoker shelter version, we would not need that many more. We would probably need more than one every 12 stops, but not that much more, because of the design of the smoker shelter. It can fit more people, as well as seating and social distancing. It would be a great addition to the city of Chicago, especially during inclement weather. And I think we should bring back the heaters as well during the winter months that we used to have, or that we have on the L stops, to keep the patrons warm. It would be a great addition. Again, I hate to sound repetitive, but as a bus rider, especially during the winter months, I do drive until the inclement weather gets a little too messy outside, and there are more accidents. Plus, the fact, aside from the accidents, I've been involved, been on the road several times where we just stopped on the expressway because it was so much snow, we couldn't even move until the trucks got out there. And unfortunately, there's a lot of city space for them to cover, and they just couldn't cover it in time. And I just did not enjoy that experience. So I also take part in riding the bus or public transportation wherever I go during that time of the year when it's just really difficult to drive. And I think that as a patron and have experienced, bigger, better built bus shelters would be a wonderful, wonderful addition, and would improve on the tourism in Chicago. Thank you.